hello, everyone, and welcome to another segment of Divine Femininity United. I am your girl, Dr. Bianca Mz Bee Lee, and we are here for another segment of our collective reading of this amazing, phenomenal, transformative book, Letting Go. Letting Go, written by the late, great Dr. David R. Hawkins. Letting Go, the pathway of surrender. Okay, as you all know, on Tuesday evenings when we meet, I do not like to keep you long because it's already late in the evening and you're probably winding down, you're getting your children, ready for the end of the day, preparing for tomorrow, or just simply doing absolutely nothing, and that is your business. Okay, so I don't want to infringe too long in on your personal time, but I will thank you for giving me your energy, giving me your time, and giving me a little bit of your space to be able to go over this book with you. Okay, at any point, wherever you're listening from, we're live on several platforms: Clubhouse, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all of the places at the same time. So wherever you're listening from, I thank you for tuning in. And at any point, if you hear anything that resonates with you, please utilize the chat. That's what it's there for. Comment section, that's what it's there for. And I will read your comment and then we can elaborate on that collectively, okay? But without further ado, we're going to be going into chapter 18. That chapter is on relationships. Chapter 18 is entitled Relationships, and it's not by happenstance that we're talking about relationships because we just broke into the Libra season 2 days ago. This is Libra season officially, coming from the Libra herself. Okay, my birthday is next week, October 5th. So it just flew past here. So yes. We are excited. So in Libra season, which is ruled by Venus, the planet Venus, which is the planet of love, relationships, and opulence, and beauty, and prosperity, and things like that. It's perfect timing that we are embarking on this chapter entitled Relationships. Okay. Without further ado, here we go. Chapter 18, Relationships. Because they are so intimately connected with our basic desires for love and security, relationships quickly bring up our innermost feelings. For that reason, they are extremely valuable, no matter whether the relationship is classified as good or bad. In the process of emotional emancipation, everything is equally valuable. It is necessary to remind ourselves that feelings are programs. That is, they are learned responses that often have a purpose. That purpose is directly related to achieving an effect on the other person's feelings, and by doing so, to influence their feelings toward ourselves and to fulfill our own inner goals. We will look at common emotional reactions and examine what their real purpose is. Emotional reactions have nothing to do with love, for love is a state of oneness with another. Love is not just an emotion that comes and goes. What often passes for love is common human understanding. In common human understanding is primarily attachment, dependency, and possessiveness. Absolutely. I could not agree any more with that. Next section, entitled Negative Feelings. As we shall see, all emotions toward others involve the basic belief that we are incomplete within ourselves, and therefore others are viewed and utilized as a means to an end. Although we may not be able to influence the other person in the way we would like, the utilization of the other person is still occurs on the level of fantasy and expectation. That is so true. We also discover that much of what we experience in a relationship is happening only in our imagination. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. We often discover that much of what we experience in a relationship is happening only in our imagination. Let's start first with the most negative emotions. We will discover that their underlying purpose is and the other person's likely response. Okay, what the underlying purpose is and the other person's likely response. Okay, let's go with the emotion of anger. The first feelings we will start with are the most negative feelings of hate, malice, anger, rage, revenge, and violence. It is obvious that the underlying fantasy here is to eliminate, banish, kill, destroy, injure, hurt, frighten, and intimidate. The other person's likely response is to avoid us, to hate us in return, and to bring about a counterattack. Lesser forms of anger are criticism, criticalness, resentment, sulking, stewing, and negative judgments about others. The emotional purpose is to punish others, make them feel sorry, try to force them to change their behaviors and feelings, make them suffer, get even with them, diminish and devalue them. This, of course, also results in the other person's response of counter criticism, counter resentment, and avoidance. To handle this area, we have to realize that almost everyone has these fantasies. Playing ostrich with them, thinking that they are wicked or that we are guilty, will not resolve them. We have to come up to the level of courage and look at our worst feelings, admit that they are a part of the condition of being human, and remember that we are only held accountable for what we do with them. It is obvious that these negative feelings take an enormous emotional toll on our own inner selves. That reason alone is sufficient to warrant looking at them and letting go of them. Looking at the feelings on the level of interpersonal relationships, we now discover another law of consciousness. Our feelings and thoughts always have an effect on other persons and affect our relationships, whether these thoughts or feelings are verbalized, expressed, or not. So true. We will not, at this point, go into the discussion of the mechanics of exactly how this comes about, but it is currently an area of research of modern advanced quantum physics, especially that area concerned with the high energy subatomic particles and their relationship to thoughts and thought forms. We can likely intuit the truth of this law of consciousness from our own experience. We generally know, for example, when someone is angry toward us, even if they say nothing about it. Sensing their repressed anger feeling, we might ask, is there something wrong? Even when they reply, oh, nothing, we are still aware of the energy of anger and upset. It is somewhat dismaying to discover the truth of this interfacing at the energetic level, but anyone can discover it by inner investigation. The overall attitudes we hold about another person are influencing that other person's feelings and attitudes about us, whether we express them or not. Women in our society are more intuitive than men. They are generally more consciously aware that their thoughts and feelings are known by others. True psychics, of course, are merely people who are experts at intuition. So true. When first discovering the truth of this, we might go through sort of a mild paranoia. Most everyone is brought up to believe that our thoughts and feelings are private affairs and nobody else's business, that all minds are separated, and that emotions happen only within the confines of the body. As we begin to investigate this area, we find that often the set of feelings we hold about another person is mirrored back to us by their attitude, and that when we change our inner attitude about them, their attitude changes abruptly. That is true. It's called matching energy, okay? Matching energy. We are consciously influencing others all the time because of the feelings we hold about them. As we become more intuitive, we will laugh at our formal naivete. And if we research further into the world of psychics and parapsychology, we will discover that those thoughts and feelings can be read by expert psychics, even from the other side of the globe. Absolutely. Absolutely. The only way to get over this initial paranoia is to clean up our own act. Come on here. The only way to get over this initial paranoia is to clean up our own acts. Finding out what needs to be cleaned up is simple and easy. Just look at what you would not want others to know about you and begin to surrender it. Come on here. It is easy. He says, finding out what needs to be cleaned up is simple and easy. Just look at what you would not want others to know about you and begin to surrender it. That's good right there. With observation, it is quite clear that these intensely negative feelings reverberate and boomerang back to us and profoundly affect our relationships. The other person merely mirrors back what we are projecting onto them. People who carry a lot of hatred find that they are living in a hateful world and that lots of people hate them. They see external situations and the world as hateful. What they fail to see is that this entire situation is self created. Exactly. You cannot see beauty outside of you because you can't see beauty inside of you, right? As within, so without. As within, so without. So whatever you see inside of your own being, you are seeing outside of you because you're projecting what you feel inwardly outwardly. Okay, we have the secret hope that our angry feelings toward others will punish and make them suffer. Actually, we are just providing them with justification to hate us back. We have to live with the fear of their retaliation and our own unconscious guilt. That's it, which often results in physical sickness. Come on here. As within, so without. So whatever you're harboring inside of you is going to affect the external part of you, i.e., your physical self or your life, or both, all of the above. Okay, life, relationships, whatever. It will be discovered that all of our anger and resentment are due to our perception, that is, to the way in which we are viewing a given situation. When the inner feelings are relinquished, the way in which we see the situation changes, and we're often surprised by the abruptness with which feelings of forgiveness suddenly arise and the relationship becomes transformed, even though on the external level we did or said nothing to express this inner change. Man, this happens with great frequency when our intention is to overcome our resentments. A core in miracles is based on that precise process of changing our view of a situation by the willingness to see it differently and to be forgiven. The willingness, that's it right there. The it says the precise the course of miracles is based on the precise process of changing our view of a situation by the willingness to see it differently. He didn't even say seeing it differently. He didn't even say getting to that point. He says it begins with the willingness. The willingness to let the stuff go, the willingness to see it in a different way, the willingness to be forgiving. Man, this is what was meant by Jesus Christ when he spoke of the miraculous power of forgiveness. Interestingly enough, there is a scientific basis for Jesus Christ's admonition to bless and love our enemies. On the level of energy, the lower feelings have a lower vibration frequency and the lower power. When we are in lower energy states such as anger, hate, violence, guilt, jealousy, or any other negative feelings, we are psychically vulnerable to the other person. In contrast, forgiveness, gratitude, and loving kindness have a much higher energy vibration and much greater power. When we shift out of a lower to a higher energy pattern, we create a protective shield on the energetic level. Come on, as it were, and we can no longer be psychically vulnerable to the other person. When we are in a state of anger, for instance, we are vulnerable to the energy depletion brought about by the other person's counter anger. Paradoxically, if we really want to affect other people, then we ought to really love them. Come on here. If we really want to affect other people, then we ought to really love them. Then their anger at us will boomerang back upon them with no effect upon you. This was the wisdom of the Buddha's statement in the Dhammapada. He said, hate is not conquered by hate. Hate is conquered by love. This is an eternal law. That's it right there, man. Ooh, that's good. See, I'm telling you, I hope y'all getting it. I hope you get it. I'm getting mine. Next section is guilt. The next emotion is guilt. We just finished anger. Now we're navigating to guilt. The next heavy, in quotations, heavy area of negativity is guilt. Here, the underlying purpose is to placate, to assuage, to escape punishment by self-punishment, to be illicit, to elicit forgiveness. Okay. The most important of these is the wish to elicit punishment from another person, combined with self-punishment. This is not a conscious wish. Nevertheless, it is the unconscious purpose of guilt. With a little investigation, this can easily be verified. The next time we are feeling guilty about something, particularly regarding another person, watch what happens in the next encounter. Almost inevitably, they will bring up the very thing we are holding in mind. For instance, if we are feeling guilty because of lateness to an appointment, that guilt will frequently elicit a critical response from the other person. By the holding of guilt, we bring on to ourselves all of the criticalness of others and their belittlement of us. Our low self esteem is channeled back to us through others in the form of their invalidation of our life. Come on here. Ooh, my goodness. Good night. This is the law of attraction in full operation. If we hold in mind that we are small and unworthy, we elicit those kinds of responses from others, whose remarks tend to indicate that we are small and unworthy. If we think we are only worth a crust of bread, then that is what we will get. This is what the scriptures mean by the statement, the poor get poorer and the rich get richer. Poverty on any level, not just financial, comes from inner poverty, just as outer wealth comes from inner wealth. If we want others to stop being critical of us and attacking us, the answer is to begin letting go of guilt and all the feelings that have brought it about. To help clarify the role of emotions in interpersonal relationships, a very quick way of learning is to presume that the other person is conscious and aware of our inner thoughts and feelings. By doing this, we will not be far from wrong, for they are indeed intuitively aware of our thoughts and feelings, even if they are not consciously aware at a given moment. They will respond to us as they knew our inner feelings. The overall relationship will behave as though the other person were aware of our inner feelings. It's true. It's the energy exchange. If we are still holding the fantasy that other people do not know our thoughts and feelings, just notice that dogs quickly do. Do we really think that the human psyche is inferior to that of a dog? If a dog can quickly read our total inner attitude, we can be sure that the intuition of people around us is picking up the same vibration. You better know it. You better know it. Because animals 100% can read your inner feelings and attitude. For sure. That's good. That was guilt. Now we're moving to the next emotion, which is apathy and grief. The feelings of apathy, grief, depression, sorrow, self pity, the blues, hopelessness, and helplessness come from the inner program of I can't. Their purpose is to elicit sympathy, to win back, to gain support, to make others sorry, and to summon help. What is the effect of these feelings on another person? Although there may be an initial attempt to help, eventually this is replaced by pity and finally avoidance. Why avoidance? The avoidance is because of the huge energy demand that we are making on the other person. It is an attempt to drain them by throwing ourselves on their doorstep. This results in the common saying, which sounds hard hearted, but is unfortunately so often true, which is when you laugh, the world laughs with you. But when you cry alone. Constant grief will drive others away. They begin to resent it unless they are in a very high place themselves and capable of effortless compassion. Chronic grief brings premature aging, a tiredness and weariness about the person, and it can only be overcome when we have the courage to allow it to come up under appropriate conditions and have the willingness to surrender to it, and to let it go. Man. Constant grief will drive others away. Constant grief drives others away. My goodness, man. That's oof. So true. Next emotion is fear. Fear. The feelings of fear, whether tension and anxiety, shyness, self consciousness, caution, holding back, or distrust, have the purpose of escape from the imagined threat and to put psychological distance from the feared situation or person. Paradoxically, As we have pointed out before, because the fear is powerful, the very process of holding it in mind can make that which is feared come into our life. It's true. And Job said it in the Bible, the thing that I feared the most has come upon me. It is like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Exactly. The energy of fear generates an inner focus on all the negative things that could happen. And that focus can coalesce the appearance of the very events that we fear the most. Fear in relationships, therefore, is giving away our power to another person and enabling them to do the very thing that is feared. The way out is to look at the worst possible scenario and look at the feelings they arouse and begin to relinquish them. Like other emotions, fear can be unraveled to its component parts, and the parts are then easily relinquished. For instance, let's say that there is a fear of critical attack. We ask ourselves, what is the worst possible scenario? With this question, we see that the basis of the fear is pride. When the pride is recognized and relinquished, the fear automatically dissolves. Again, in a relationship in which we are experiencing fear, if we unravel the fear, we may find that it is really a fear of discovery of our inner anger. The fear is that the other person will retaliate against the anger. Again, when we relinquish the anger, the fear will automatically disappear. That's it. The insecure person is fearful and prone to jealousy and clinging, possessiveness, and attachment in relationships, an approach that always brings frustration. The purpose of these feelings is to bind and tightly possess the other, to achieve security by preventing loss, and at times to punish the other for our own fear of loss. Again, these attitudes tend to bring into manifestation the very thing that we are holding in our mind. The other person, now feeling pressured by our energy of dependency and possessiveness, has an inner impulse to run for freedom, to withdraw, to detach, and to do the very thing that we fear the most. These attitudes lead to constantly wanting to influence others because people intuitively pick up our wish to control them. Their response is to resist. That's it. So the only way to bring about relinquishment of their resisting is to let go of wanting to influence them in the first place. This means letting go of the inner fears as they come up. That's it. That is it. So they're trying to hold on to, and possessiveness, trying to hold on to the person tightly and be all up under them and clingy and all of this stuff, all because they fear being left. They fear abandonment. They fear, being left alone and things like that. And in doing that and dwelling on that, what he's saying is, you're gonna mess around and drive that person away. They're not gonna want to be around you because it's frustrating. It's overbearing. They can't even breathe, or you're so jealous and possessive that they can't even talk to their mother on the phone without you feeling a way about it. You know what I'm saying? So, or they can't talk to their dad without you feeling a way about it. So it's trust me, I've seen it, I've experienced it. My goodness, that's a real one. Okay, fear. Next emotion is pride. Feelings of pride are often condoned in our society to take the form of perfectionism, neatness, punctuality, dependability, good personhood, excessive cleanliness, workaholism, excessive ambition, success, moral superiority, and politeness. In its exacerbated forms, we see arrogance, boastfulness, vanity, smugness, and prejudice. On the spiritual level, there is the righteous killing of non-believers. Come on here. That's a rabbit hole I can go down, but I refuse. Okay, there's a righteous killing of non-believers, literal killing of non-believers. The underlying emotional purpose of these feelings toward others is to win their admiration, avoid criticism or rejection, gain acceptance, be important, and thereby overcome our own inner feelings of worthlessness. Come on, man. Unfortunately, the feelings that are aroused in the other person are often those of envy, competitiveness, or even hatred and easy exploitation. If we look at pride, we see that it's often a substitute for genuine self esteem. Come on. It is also a considerable interest to realize that the major relationship to which many people apply these phenomena is the relationship to God. There is the belief, often unconscious, that we can elicit a certain response from God. God will feel sorry for me. God will retaliate against me. God will punish me. God will be pleased with me. God will favor me. When we have adequate self esteem, we are motivated by inner humility and gratitude, and therefore we have no need for the constant eliciting of strokes and pats from others or God. When we stop wanting to be liked, come on here, man, he all in the guts of the people. When we stop wanting to be liked, we find that we are. Listen, when you stop wanting to be liked, you find that you already were. Okay. When we stop catering to others and trying to manipulate their approval, we find that they do respect us already. Self denigration in the forms of placating, flattering, difference, self effacement, and passivity are all attempts to influence others by catering to their ego so as to get favorable treatment and get our own way. They call that brown nosing, okay? False humility merely says to the other person, I am a small person. Please treat me that way. And of course, they promptly do. You better know it. You better know it. As is quite apparent, all of the above emotions are manipulative of the other person and destructive of real relationship. That's true. They all diminish our self esteem, for they are all positions of vulnerability. Thus, although we may think that we feel well and secure at the level of pride, that pride is always accompanied by defensiveness due to its basic vulnerability. We puff up with pride whenever we feel insecure. The inflation of pride is easily susceptible to the puncture of a passing remark or raised eyebrow. It's so true. Oh my goodness, it's so true. Next section, the human condition. We're talking about relationships, chapter 18. We're in the human conditions section. All of the negative feelings are essentially forms of fear. Fear of loss of esteem by others or ourselves, or fear of not surviving and a loss of security. Because most of the negative feelings are accompanied by a negative value judgment, they are suppressed, repressed, or projected. Suppression, repression, and projection are all destructive dynamics and result in a progressive stress on and decline of our relationships. We like to pretend that our innermost feelings are unknown to others, but are they? We are all connected to each other on the psychic intuitive level. So our feelings are read and known by others. We may not be consciously aware of it, but their behavior towards us reveals that they know our inner attitude and feelings toward us. For example, let's say that our external behavior on the job is exemplary. Why is it, we ask, that the other person gets the promotion or the recognition? And we do not. How many of us have been in that situation, okay? Where you're doing the work, your work is top tier chef's kiss, but somebody else gets the recognition, they get the pats on the back, they get the certificate, they get the gift card, they get the take a bow, you know what I mean? And you don't. The answer is to look at our hidden inner feelings about the boss and the job. Do we really think that he hasn't registered our inner envy, criticalness, and resentment? It is a safe bet to assume that others know our inner feelings and the thoughts that go with those feelings. The kind of thoughts we are having about them is very likely matched with similar thoughts they are having about us. If we realize this principle, a lot of things that happen in our life will start to make sense. We can ask ourselves, how would I react if I were the other person and knew exactly what my personal inner feelings and thoughts really were? The answer to that will usually make clear what the other person's behavior is all about. Perhaps we didn't get the promotion because at the unspoken energetic level, our boss knew that we were critical of him, resentful of our colleagues, and clamoring for approval and recognition. Ooh, wee. Before searching ourselves for negative feelings, it is best to remember that these feelings are not our inner higher self. They are learned programs we have inherited from being humans. Nobody is exempt from them. Everybody from the highest to the lowest has and has had an ego, correct? Even the few who are enlightened had an ego at one time before it was finally transcended. This is the human condition. To be able to observe our feelings honestly requires a non-judgmental attitude. That's right. You have to be non-judgmental, not just for others, but to your from yourself as well. You cannot judge yourself at all. You have to give grace to you so that you can then identify the things. Don't sulk and sit in grief and you know, guilt and shame. And that's no, we don't subscribe to that stuff. Feelings come up for us to simply be aware of them, identify where that feeling is coming from, and then deal with it. Don't sit there, deal with it. Humans sit there, okay? We are more than human, all right? We first have to be aware of what is really going on inside of us before we can do anything about it. That's it. As we let go of a feeling, it is replaced by a higher one. The only purpose for recognizing and admitting a feeling is so that we can relinquish it. That's it. I just said it. The only purpose for recognizing and admitting a feeling is so that we can relinquish it. Okay? To be surrendered means that we are willing to relinquish a feeling by allowing ourselves just to experience it and not to change it. Resistance is what keeps it there in the first place. Come on here. You can't heal what you won't reveal, right? You can't remove it if you don't acknowledge it. That's number one. And when you remove it, let it go for good. For good. We may think that some of the negative emotions are necessary to us. However, upon examination, we will discover that this is an illusion. The higher emotions are far more powerful and effective in bringing about the fulfillment of our needs. That's it. Let's ask ourselves, for example, what would we be willing to do for someone we really, truly love? We will instantly see that it is almost anything Yes, exactly. That we will do for them, those that we love. There is almost no limit to which we will go for love. Now, contrast this with what we are willing to do for someone who has intimidated us. We will see that we grudgingly give as little as possible. While the intimidators may seem to get away with something temporary on the surface, they really have lost the whole thing, haven't they? Come on now. We see it happening right now with the whole P. Diddy situation. Okay, I'm going to say that again. While the intimidators may seem to get away with something temporarily on the surface, they really have lost the whole thing, haven't they? Their victory is superficial, temporary, and not even real. A victory in appearance only. In the end, the world turns, and the intimidators sow their own destruction. Okay, they call that the hole that you dig for others, you're about to fall into yourself. Okay, what we win by the negative emotions is short-lived and inauthentic. It doesn't really satisfy. It's like a forced compliment. Real happiness results from a win-win situation. The price of a win-lose situation is hatred and low self-esteem. Underneath it all, we fool neither ourselves nor others. Others always know when we are out to exploit them. Come on, always. If we have difficulty in relinquishing a feeling, it helps merely to look at the intent of that feeling. What is the purpose of it? What is the supposed purposeful effect on the other person? What is their likely response? Do we really want that? If this were the last day of our life, would that really be what we wanted? Well, this is the last day of our life. Our old life, with all its conflicts, anxiety, and fear, is gone. That is the price we have paid for holding on to the old. Come on here. Come on here. As we relinquish the negative suppressed feelings from all the programs we have internalized, they are automatically replaced by the higher ones. We become happier and lighter, and so do the people around us. Let's review what these higher feelings are and what effect they have on the other person's feelings and behavior in response to us. Okay. First higher feeling is positive feeling, simply positive feelings. The higher feelings of courage, willingness, confidence, capability, the can do attitude, zest, humor, competence, self sufficiency, and creativity have an emotional purpose. Effective actions, operation, and accomplishment, those are the purposes. The reaction of other persons will reflect back to us cooperation, courage, respect, and a willingness to be with us. Additionally, because we increase their self esteem, they seek out our company. As we look at all of this, we see that there is a wonderful payoff in return for our willingness to let go of the negative feelings that stand in the way of these higher feelings, which effortlessly accomplish our real goals and purpose. That's it. When we are operating on the level of acceptance, enjoyment, warmth, gentleness, softness, trustingness, inner truth, and faith, the emotional purposes to which the other person responds are those of love, enjoyment, pleasure, harmony, peacefulness, understanding, and sharing. Their reaction to us will be one of acceptance, satisfaction, feeling in tune, feeling understood, and joy. They will automatically return our love. It is rather obvious that these reciprocal feelings bring about success in whatever the venture may be with the other person, whether it is vocational, social, personal, or a simple everyday business interaction. Very true. I say this, I used to say this when I was teaching a business course. I tell them, the term that we're so accustomed to, it's not personal, it's business. I used to tell them, nah, it's the opposite. It is the opposite. It's not business, it's personal. Because if I don't like you, then I'm not going to take advantage of your business. I don't care what you're offering. Okay. So, with this, what this is talking about here, just having a simple positive attitude, just positivity, possessing positivity. What that'll do when you put the positivity that you're feeling on the inside of you and you project it outside of you to the people that you're around, to the people that you encounter every single day, like he said, whether it's vocational, social, personal, or business, then you're likely to be number one on the top of their list. They're gonna look out for you always. Okay. They're gonna want to see you win always. They're gonna have your back as much as you have theirs. They're gonna make the whole situation that much more pleasant for you because you make it much more pleasant for them. Okay. Next section, connectedness. This is part of the positive feelings. When our inner feelings are of peacefulness, serenity, tranquility, stillness, openness, and simplicity, the effect on other persons is to increase their awareness along with our own, and to give them a greater sense of freedom, perfection, unity, and at oneness with ourselves. In their relationship with us, they will feel joined. I love that. They will feel joined. They will identify with us. They will understand at a deep level, and they will feel in communion with us. As a consequence, they will seek our presence because in it they feel complete, recognized, and contented. They will experience an increased awareness of their own real higher self. They will feel higher in our presence or when they think of us. That's awesome. Their response back to us will be that of love and gratitude for the blessing of our presence. That is beautiful. My goodness. In such a relationship, goals are automatically and effortlessly accomplished. Because we are not holding negativity, there is nothing we wish to hide from the other person. And this openness allows the other person to drop all defenses. Nothing is hidden out of guilt or fear. And there is a very conscious psychic connectedness. That's it. It is on this level that so-called telepathic phenomena occur with regularity. With regularity, okay? When we are in total harmony with another person, there is no desire on our part to withhold or guard any thoughts or feelings. Because the other person responds similarly, there is an effortless knowing of what is crossing the other person's mind and what their passing feeling states may be. There is a total acceptance of our own humanness and that of the other. If we are really in tune with others, we forgive them when we see a passing jealousy or reactivity. We realize it is only natural, and we know that they, in return, are aware of our passing resentment. Yet, they're overlooking it. They accept our humanness and they understand the situation. They know us so well that they recognize the likelihood of a passing situation, resentment in a certain situation. But they know also that we are going to let it go. The people with whom we share a relationship of loving acceptance are okay with our humanness and their own. No matter the surface emotions, we remain aware of the shared alignment to love, acceptance, and harmony with each other and the world. That's beautiful. Oh my goodness. This level of communication actually can be reached with anyone. It does not have to be someone with whom we are intimately associated. Very often, we experience it first with our friends, with whom there is less at stake than intimate family members. Another situation where it often occurs is in the course of an average life, is with an ex-lover. Come on here. I laugh because I was just talking to someone about their ex and the calamity that they have ensued on their life. But man, he said another situation where it often occurs in the course of an average life is with an ex-lover. With this person to whom we have revealed so much, now that there is no longer anything romantic at stake, a friendship might develop in which it is no longer necessary to hide anything. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the fact that my ex-husband and I, it took about a year after the separation, but we were able to get ourselves to a place where we were amicable, we were friendly, we were understanding, and he had other relationships that he had pursued and things like that in the midst of our, pulling apart and whatnot, which was fine with me. So he never called flack from me on that sense. It was just a matter of, if you're gonna do it, tell the truth. Hello, tell the truth. Be real. Don't let your lies catch up with you. Okay. Now, um, but once we got to that place of first accountability, we both had to be at a place of accountability. We had to be honest with ourselves and honest with one another about what we did to each other. Okay. Because my uncle that passed away, he said it takes two to tango. It takes two to tango. Okay. So there's no one person. One person might have did more than another person or whatever, but who cares? No, who's counting? If both parties did wrong, then both parties have something to be accountable to and for, and to acknowledge, and then to ask for forgiveness, and then to forgive. Hello, somebody. Once you can get to that place, especially when there's no longer anything romantic at stake, then you'll be able to be civil with another human being, right? Of which played a vital role in the book of your life that can never be erased. All right. No matter how great or small, catastrophic or whatever, I don't care how much drama, it doesn't matter. That person is a permanent fixture in the book of your life in this iteration. So, I mean, something. Now I do realize that some people they make it difficult. I'm glad that that was not my story. Okay. Now the fact that we are not in communication today is simply because I respect him and his new wife and their marriage, and I refuse to have my good be evil spoken of. Hello, somebody. Okay, because I ain't checking for the brother man. And I wish nothing but the best on him. Matter of fact, the last time that we actually saw each other, that's the same. Those are the words that we spoke to one another. I wish nothing but the best for you. Greatness and happiness, may it be your portion. Prosperity, may it be your life. Okay, abundance, may it be your life. Period. Live long and prosper. All right. I don't have to see, hear, know, be in contact with none of that. I ain't got to do none of it, buddy. Okay. Live and live big. Live, laugh, love. Big. Okay. we were able to get to that point, and I'm so grateful for that. Continuing to read, there can be truly open communication, honesty, and integrity. Absolutely. We see this not infrequently in couples that have separated or divorced. Once the turmoil has settled down, that, like I said, we had 1 year of turmoil in separation, they get along easily and may even remain the best of friends for many years. Absolutely. Even when we were in the courtroom for the actual divorce hearing, our divorce hearing was 15 minutes long. Even prior to them calling our case, we were in the lobby cutting up, acting silly, cracking jokes, being silly. Okay. But they called our name, 15 minutes, boom, pow, peel. We are there, in and out. Even the judge asked us 4 times. He says, is there nothing we can do to bring you all back together? We like, look here, the both of us, Your Honor, hit the gavel, please and thank you. Okay, ain't nobody got time to be playing with you. He says our case was the easiest case that he had ever done and presided over in his history of him being a judge. Because we were cool. We were in there laughing, and it was easy. It was no problem. And we walked out of there, went in front of the courthouse. We gave our hugs. My dad even asked, invited him to lunch with us. And that's the type of chill that we had, because we were able to put aside the foolishness that was not serving either one of us. Okay. We understand. Both people were hurt. Both people were, whatever. Okay. Once we acknowledge the things, get this stuff out of you, let the stuff go, surrender to it, relinquish it, and get on with your life. One thing that I have never done, especially since he's been married, you ain't got to worry about me. In fact, it was one time he had called me. I'm going to say this and I'm going to get on with the book. One time he had called me. And I heard wind in the background, and I said, "Where are you? What is the wind?" He said, "Oh, I'm outside because my wife." I was about to slip and call her name. He said, "My wife was, she's on the inside." I said, nope. Get off this line. Get off this line and get in the house with your wife. What I don't want to do is for her to ever walk out and hear you talking to me, and then she feels some type of way, insecure or self-conscious about, okay, well, what, paranoid about, oh, why he talking to his ex, and are they thinking about, oh, ain't no way, no, get off this line and get on in the house now. Don't play with me. He started laughing and went on about, I'm serious. No, we're not doing that. No. Because I was a wife, not to mention I was your wife before. Okay. I don't ever want her to feel that unnecessary feeling. Because as a woman, when we start to feel those things now, okay, not just a woman, as a human being, because I'm quite sure some men deal with that too. When we start to feel some things and have questions about whether, our man or woman is tiptoeing in the tulip somewhere, then we are unsettled until we find out the facts and the truth. I don't ever want to inflict that feeling on nobody, okay? Especially when I can do something about it. So, and there's that. I hope and wish that I pray that they're doing well in their relationship. Moving on, next section, effect of positive feelings. We're going to be talking about the effects of positive feelings. It is obvious that higher states of consciousness have a profound effect on our relationships, because one of the laws of consciousness is like goes to like. Our inner states are actually radiating to others. We can positively affect others even when we are not physically with them. It's true. Feelings are energy, and all energy gives off a vibration. We're like sending and receiving stations. The less negativity we're holding, the more aware we can be of what others are really holding about us. That's it. The more we love, the more we find ourselves surrounded by love. Come on, I love that. The more we love, the more we find ourselves surrounded by love. The replacement of a negative feeling is by a higher one accounts for the many miracles one can experience in the course of life. These become more frequent as one continues to surrender. As we surrender, life becomes more and more effortless. There is a constant increase in happiness and pleasure, which requires less and less from the outer world to be experienced. This is a diminution of needs and expectations of others. We stop looking out there for what we now experience as coming from within ourselves. We let go of the illusion that others are the source of our happiness. Instead of looking to get from others, we now look to give. Others now seek to be with us instead of avoiding us. In Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, Scrooge experienced the pleasure of giving instead of looking to get from others. The joy of that transformation is available to us all. Carl Jung wrote of the phenomenon called synchronicity, which might also have been called simultaneity, to explain the occurrence of events that to the intellect appear unrelated. As we surrender more and more, this type of experience becomes commonplace. An illustration of this phenomenon is the following experience related by a business executive who have been practicing to letting go technique for about a year. Okay, here we go. He says, I was president of a small corporation with about 50 employees. We had built up a promising young man to head one of the divisions of the company. It turned out, however, that this man was very immature. Instead of responding with gratitude and cooperation for all that was done for him, he reacted by becoming grandiose, demanding, and somewhat paranoid. He declared that he was going to barge into the next board of directors meeting and cause a big upset with his wild accusations and demands. Although all of his accusations could have been easily refuted, the whole affair sounded like a dreadful experience to live through. For days, he appeared just plain hateful with his threats. The day of the board meeting, which was to be at 1 p.m., I was driving along the parkway thinking angry thoughts about him. Suddenly, I let it all go. I surrendered on him totally. I started to see the frightened child in him, and I started to send him love. All of my anxiety disappeared, and I felt a sympathetic love for him. I looked at my watch, and it was 12:30 p.m. When I got to the office, my secretary said this man had walked into the office and stated that he was calling off the whole time. He had changed his mind at the last minute. He was calling off the whole thing. Changed his mind at the last minute. I asked her what time he had walked into the office. She said he made particular note of the time. As the board meeting was soon to take place, she looked at her watch when he made his announcement about his change of heart. The time was exactly 12:32. So at 12:30, the boss, instead of sending hateful thoughts and resentful thoughts about this guy, he started to send him love. He started to envision his inner child and sent the inner child love and embracing him, things like that, energetically at 12:30, only to discover when he got to the office that at 12:32, the man called the whole thing off. Look at that. Next section, letting go of expectations. Letting go of expectations. When we put pressure on other people in order to get what we want, they automatically resist because we're trying to pressure them. The harder we push, the harder they resist. Even though out of fear, they may actually concede to our demands. There's not an inner acceptance, and later on, we will lose what we have gained. This resistance is in all of us. We can be aware of it as it operates unconsciously, and we evade that awareness by making excuses and plausible explanations. As mentioned in an earlier chapter in this book, Winning Through Intimidation, Robert Ringers called it the boy-girl theory. Boy meets girl. As soon as she realizes he wants her, she becomes hard to get. So then if the boy decides to withdraw, she now wants him. And he in return acts aloof, right? The cat and mouse, the typical cat and mouse game. When we refer to this phenomenon to explain sales resistance, one way around it is to take the view that our responsibility is to make an effort, but not try to determine the result. Okay, I understand that. Another way is to surrender the feelings we have about what we want from the other person and let go of the pressures we are putting on them in the form of expectation and desire. They then have the psychic space to become agreeable or even to initiate the desired result on their own the result we had wished for in the first place. That's true. An example of this dynamic is a man who was working with the letting go technique in the midst of a divorce. He and his wife got into a heated argument over something he wanted. She just kept saying no to his request. So, in the middle of it, he surrendered on the object that he wanted. It was now okay with him if she didn't give it to him, and it was okay if she did. The instant he let go of it in his mind, she suddenly turned to him and offered not only to give it to him, but to have it packed and shipped as well. Wow. This illustrates a very simple but decidedly elegant and active way of clarifying relationships. First, look at how you are secretly feeling about a person in a given situation. That's it. Presume that the other person is aware of those thoughts and feelings. Then put yourself in their place and see how you would react. You would see that their behavior is probably just what you would have done in their place. The goal is to let go of all those feelings until you can go up to a positive thinking, feeling space about the matter. Once in a positive space, now see how you would react as the other person who was aware of these new feelings. The likelihood is that their behavior will change just as you would expect. There may be a time delay, but if you keep watching, the change will likely take place. Even if it doesn't, you will no longer be upset about the situation. Sometimes the payoff refuses to show up, but we can say, this is one that the universe owed me in due time. In fact, it is a part of greatness to know that sometimes a good deed is not returned. That's it. That's it. Because again, you're not attached to the outcome. It doesn't matter what the other person does or how the other person feels or whatever. What matters is what you did. And in that sense, you did your part. That's it. Okay. If they return it, then that's awesome. If they don't, then oh well, you did your part. You have the satisfaction in knowing my part is done. The influence that our thoughts and feelings have is the world's literature called the law of karma, or you get what you give, or you reap what you sow. Often we don't see this law in operation because of the time delay. For instance, an acquaintance borrowed $200 and then failed to pay it back as promised. For over a year, there was a resentment and consequent avoidance of the person because of the emotional discomfort, which was compounded by the guilt at holding the resentment in the first place. Finally, when it became apparent that the only person suffering from the resentment was the person holding it and that it was costing peace of mind, the willingness to let it go emerged. At that point, the resentment was fairly easy to let go, and borrower was forgiven. The $200 was recontextualized as a loan to someone who had been in need. Within a few months, there was an unexpected encounter with the person who said out of the blue, I have been concerned about the money I owe you. Here's the whole $200. The loan was repaid without even asking for it. We block receiving what we want from others by our expectations or resentments of them. It is very effective to surrender our expectations of others before we enter into a particular situation with them. Emotions are really subtle attempts to force others and impose our will onto them, which they unconsciously resist. The way to facilitate satisfaction in relationships is lovingly to picture the best possible outcome. Make sure it is mutually beneficial, a win-win situation. Let go of all the negative feelings and merely hold the picture in mind. We can tell if we are really surrendered when we feel okay either way. It's okay with us if it happens, and it's okay with us if it doesn't. Therefore, to be surrendered does not mean to be passive. It is being active in a positive way. When we are surrendered, there is no longer the pressure of time. Frustration comes from wanting a thing now instead of letting it happen naturally in its own time. Patience is an automatic side effect of letting go. And we know how easy it is to get along with patient people. Notice that patient people usually get what they want in the end. One resistance to letting go is the illusion that if we let go of our wantingness and our expectations, we won't get what we want. We fear that we will lose it if we don't keep pressuring for it. The mind has the idea that the way to get a thing is to want it. Actually, if we examine the issue, we will see that events are due to decisions and choices are based on our intentions. What we get is the result of these choices, even though they are unconscious, rather than what we think we want. When we surrender the pressure of wantingness, we are clear to make wiser choices and decisions. That's it, because sitting in wantingness means that it's not already done. It means you want it to be done instead of it already being done. But if you know, if you have a knowing in you that the thing that you quote unquote want or desire is already finished, then you can sit in the doneness of it. Okay. Whether you see it or not, that's not important. What's important is it done? That's what's important. And not only is it done, but does your mind know it's done? Does your heart know it's done? Do you feel like it's done? Is it done in you? Because if it's done in you, then you no longer want it. It's already here. You already have it, right? I hope you all understood that. I really do. Okay. We want, we think that our happiness depends on controlling events and that the facts are what upsets us. Actually, it is our feelings and thoughts about these facts that are the real cause of our upset. Facts in and of themselves are neutral things. The power we give them is due to our attitude of acceptance or non acceptance and our overall feeling state. If we get stuck in a feeling, it is because we still secretly believe that it will accomplish something for us. That's it. That is it. Okay, here we go. We're about to get into the nitty of the gritty, you all. Here we go. Sexual relations is the next section. Because of the wide availability of sexual material and opportunities for varied sexual experiences, most people nowadays consider themselves rather sexually liberated. This liberation is primarily intellectual and behavioral. There still exists a great deal of emotional and experiential limitation, as well as sensory restriction. Let's get into it, doctor. Thank you. All experience takes place within consciousness itself. Therefore, sexual experience, like any other, is determined by our overall level of awareness and inner freedom. The degree to which our sexual experience has been restricted becomes apparent the more we relinquish our feelings about it. When we are totally surrendered on sexuality, it is like adding a third dimension to what was before a two-dimensional experience. Come on here. As one woman put it, it's like I used to hear only violins, then a cello was added, and then a flute, and so on, so that now the experience is totally full and comprehensive. Besides the increased emotional pleasure of freedom and expression, letting go brings a change in the sensory experience itself. To most people, men especially, sexual excitation and orgasmic pleasure are primarily a genital sensation. As one gets freer, the locale of the orgasm begins to expand and spread to the whole pelvis and abdomen, Lord, the abdomen. Okay. Ooh, my lips. The abdomen, the legs and arms, and eventually the whole body. Often, after this accomplishment, there is a plateau that follows, and then suddenly and unexpectedly, the orgasmic location expands beyond the body, as though the space around the body was having the orgasm instead of the person. The energy, the aura. Ultimately, there is no limitation of the orgasm. It seems to expand into infinity and be experienced from no particular center or locale. It is as if there is no individual person present. The orgasm is experiencing itself. Now, how many of y'all done had this? Okay, don't even worry about it. Don't even say don't. You don't even have to answer. It's okay. It's all right. This expansion is facilitated by becoming aware that the facial grimacing and breath holding are restrictions due to fear of loss of control and attempts to limit the experience. If one breathes slowly and deeply, smiling instead of grimacing, the fear will become conscious and can be surrendered. Sexuality loses its compulsiveness. Freedom means not just freedom to indulge, but freedom not to have sex or orgasm. Come on. When we are surrendered, we are not run by the desire for the orgasm. This unleashes creative experiencing and awareness because the mind is not focused on the orgasm itself. To be free from the domination of the desire for orgasm allows sexual experiences that have been described in spiritual literature as the tantric sex. Most Westerners read a little about it and perhaps give it a try, but then they give up because they approach it in a way that leads to suppression rather than a greater freedom. Exactly. The more truly liberated we become, the more we are motivated by lovingness rather than by desire for gratification. This change of motivation from wanting and hunger to the mutual sharing of pleasure and happiness brings about major changes in the nature of sexual relationships. The intensity with another person becomes more encompassing and pleasurable. There is greater attunement to the other person's sexuality and intuitive fulfillment of each other's styles of satisfaction. One couple expressed it as follows. They stated, "It is as though we just witness what our bodies are doing. It is as though we are the space in which it is all happening. As soon as one person has a desire or fantasy, the other automatically and without even thinking moves into the acting of fulfilling it. It is as though there is a psychic connection. There is an acknowledgement of the inner feelings about the fantasies and a letting go of how the other person might react. There is greater variation and frequency with sexuality also. It used to be mainly Friday and Saturday nights. Now making love may happen 4 days at a time, or sometimes weeks go by without it. It is always new and it's never the same. Amazingly, it just keeps getting better and better. Each orgasm seems better than the last. Yet, often the lovemaking is so enjoyable that there is no bother to have an orgasm. If it happens, it's okay. It's okay if it doesn't. The intimate time spent together is satisfying and freeing, regardless of any end result." That's good. That's intimacy. Intimacy. That's not just sex. That's intimacy. That's not penetration. It's not intercourse. It's intimacy. And intimacy transcending the body. That's what that is. You have to, in order to experience something like this, you have to be connected to someone who also is on your same accord, equally yoked, equally yoked. And that does not mean they believe they're Christian. You need to be Christian. They can't be Buddha. They can't be Buddhist. They can't be, no, that's not what that means. We have completely taken that out of context. Equally yoked of the same mind and accord. Okay. Of the same mind and accord, heart to heart, crown to crown, spirit to spirit, body to body, soul to soul. Okay. Another man said, "I never really realized before how much sex ran my relationships. It was really compulsive. I was always afraid I would miss out on a sexual opportunity. I didn't want to miss out on the opportunity. Forgive my dog. I didn't want to miss out on the opportunity for pleasure. Now my pattern is more variable. In fact, now I have no pattern. When it happens, and it's great when it does. When it doesn't, I don't even think about it. I used to have sex on my mind all the time. Women would usually say no, but now that I really don't care that much about it, they usually either suggest it or say yes if I ask. Now I find that I'm more concerned about them instead of myself. Before, I was really just using them for my own selfish ends, and intuitively, the women knew it. Now I feel a lot of love for them. I really care about their welfare and happiness, even if it's only a single encounter. What a relief not to have to lie anymore. Come on. Now that's freedom for real right there, okay? From the above examples, it is clear that there is a change in consciousness from lack to abundance. When we are self-centered and focused on getting emotional or physical pleasure from sex with another person, then we feel angry, frustrated, and deprived. The more loving we become, the more we receive what others are giving us. And we discover that we are all surrounded by love and opportunities for loving involvements all the time. This was a case for one woman who shared the following experience. She stated, I was always overweight and not very good looking. All through my life, I rejected myself. I envied and hated sexually attractive women. I got to hate men too because they avoided me. I was full of self pity. I even tried psychotherapy, but I quit when it became apparent that the psychotherapist seemed more interested in his attractive young women patients than he was in me. I tried various self help methods and at least got over my self pity and depression. I was able to get a better job, but men still weren't interested in me, and I was unsuccessful in the sexual and relational arenas. Now, the doctor then goes and says, using the mechanism of letting go, she went into all of the negative emotions that she had about herself and intimacy. She allowed the feelings to come up one by one, and she let them go. She let go of feelings like wanting attention and acceptance from others, fear of expressing herself, fear of being rejected, and even the fear of being deeply loved. There was the underlying feeling, I don't deserve love. Who could possibly love me? Within a week of surrendering these feelings, she had a date. She explained, I was so excited that I even lost my appetite. We had a great time, and then all of a sudden, I saw the secret. I was given love. I was giving love instead of looking for it. My whole life has changed now. Instead of feeling desperate to get attention and love, I know I have the power to give it. When I enter a room, I see all the lonely, love starved men. They look just the way I used to. So I know what it is they are feeling and what to say to them and how to express myself. I put myself in their place and watch their hearts melt. I used to scare them away because I was so hungry. Get that? Hungry? That was my problem. Now I feel full and I share that fullness and what I have learned. My social life has become so enjoyable that I don't have time to eat anymore. I've lost 35 pounds in a year. I never even dieted. I just lost interest. I guess it is because I'm getting gratified in a way now that really means something to me. Maybe I am a little wild with the newness of it, but I'll settle down before long. There is one man I'm really interested in now. I know that's right, sis. Sexuality then reflects our overall state of consciousness. As we let go of fear and limitations, that area of our life expands and becomes even more gratifying, and yet not necessary for happiness. Freedom and creativity replace compulsiveness and limitation. Sex becomes another avenue for greater expression and increasing awareness. The pleasure of communion and nonverbal understanding replaces the former self centered driveness for relief from tension and the limited goal of sexual pleasure and ego inflation. The secret, as the woman stated above, is in the awareness that when we seek to give instead of get, all of our own needs are automatically fulfilled. As one person embarked or remarked, I have heard about many personal problems from my friends who practice this technique, but lack of lovers isn't one of them. Hello, hello, and hello again. Okay. Alrighty, you all. That is the end of this chapter. It ran a little long, longer than usual, but it's okay. It's all right. It still wasn't, crazy long. But the next chapter on Sunday at 5 p.m. is chapter 19, and that is entitled Achievement of Vocational Goals. Achievement of Vocational Goals. We're still talking about letting go. We're still letting go. We're still learning how to let go. Okay. Alrighty, you all. Listen. If you don't have the book, feel free to reach out to me. Send me an email, okay? Send me an email to request this book. This is Letting Go, written by Dr. David R. Hawkins. Email me at info@biancamzbeelee.com. Again, email me at info@drmzbeelee.com. Okay, follow me on social media. You all, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of the things. X, I'm sorry. I apologize. It is no longer Twitter. It is X, whatever that is, okay? So follow me there and you will see exactly what I do and all of the things and how you'll be able to interact with everything that I do, as well as the astrology placements and all of the things that I do, all of the things that we talk about on a regular basis. Okay. Alrighty, you all. I love you. I mean it. There's absolutely positively nothing you can do about it. Don't you even try it. We'll see you back here on Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here at Divine Femininity United. Peace.